get certain things right. And look, rather than just take you through some of these things talking about it, we'll play this report because it highlights what exactly transpired. And it was just really tough to take, even for anyone who sees it, how much more for the family that is involved in this one. So we'll let you just listen to this report.
It was just like any other normal business day for the Omoria Kogbe family, who are into catering business in Okpanam, near Asaba, the Delta State capital. Shattered glass, bullet holes piercing through the structure into the shop, and then finally passing through this chair where the victim sat before the unfortunate incident, leaving him and his younger brother in a pool of blood. The 2-year-old boy was said to have been hit by a stray bullet, while the younger brother was also injured in the eye. It all happened while an operation by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Delta Command, was taking place not too far from the area.
She was carrying her 2 kids on her hand, shouting for help. She was even making calls. I don't know whether she's trying to call her husband or something, but she made call and blood was all over them, both the baby and herself. They were flooded with blood. So the next thing, they said that stray bullets fell on the children. The children was there playing.
Both brothers were rushed to the emergency ward of the Federal Medical Center Asaba for treatment, but unfortunately, Ivan could not make it. His little brother, who was injured in the eye, was moved to the eye clinic of the same hospital for further treatment. We visited the health facility to see the parents and also hear from them exactly what happened on that fateful day. The victim's mother is still in shock, but trying her best to see to the well-being of the other son, who's still receiving treatment.
I didn't know where it came from, but all I know was I just saw my son. His side, his intestine was kind of bulging out. He was on the floor, then I grabbed him. Before I could just look up, my other son inside, and I observed his eyes too.
For her husband, justice for his late son is the only thing he desires.
I just need justice for my son. My son cannot just die like that. Just like that, innocent boy. Inside the shop. Not outside the shop, inside the shop.
Although the Delta State Command of the NDLEA is yet to speak on the matter, the spokesperson of the State Police Command, Bright Edafe, says they've commenced an investigation into the matter. Meanwhile, the Delta State Governor has commiserated with the family of Ivan, condemning the killing. In a statement, the governor called on the NDLEA authorities and the Delta Police Command to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident with a view to bringing the culprit to book. This is yet another case of extrajudicial killing that has cut short the life of this little boy, and it calls for greater caution by security operatives in carrying out their duties.
Well, we reached out to the NDLEA, and much later they released a statement which says a team of NDLEA operatives carried out an intelligence-based raid of the joints of a notorious drug dealer located at Opanam area of Asaba at about 1600 hours on Thursday, 13th July, and in the process of the operation, a Toyota Camry 2008 model, light blue color at the scene, suddenly zoomed off and knocked down one of our officers, who is currently in critical condition, undergoing treatment in the hospital. In a bid to demobilize the car and prevent it from escaping, another officer fired a shot aimed at the tire of the car, which eventually escaped. While the injured officer was rushed for treatment, the officers got reports of a stray bullet hitting a young person and immediately located the father of the victim, followed him to the hospital and supported in facilitating his treatment, but unfortunately died in the process. We're in touch with the family to provide necessary assistance while we conclude our investigation of the incident, we would like to assure the family and members of the public that we'll get to the root of the case and take necessary actions. Well, there's so many things about this statement. First of all, of course, we don't expect that this would be, because they've narrated what they think transpired. So while they say they'll get to the root of the matter, it appears as though, who knows, will the root of the matter be that much different from what has been written here? But the thing is, I mean, we also saw videos of the father who trailed those officials while they left the scene, and there were several narratives from the person who even initially blew the alarm saying they had approached the NDLEA. Some of the officials there threatened to shoot him, to get out of here, would you leave here? But eventually the father came through in pursuit of the officials. So that part we didn't see here because those clips are all over the place there for everyone to see. So those are part of the things that need to factor in. And then I don't know if men in uniform have learned the right lessons in terms of their conduct towards citizens of this country, because there still appears to be a lot of gap, appears to be us and them in the way they carry out their duties, and that really needs to change. Well, yes, we do have new leaders in charge of security agencies, but most times men, I mean, the officers, you see fine gentlemen up there who are trained, conduct themselves decently, but the men on the field, usually where people interact with on a regular basis, usually have a huge question mark about their conduct. So if they've gone ahead and narrated this, I mean, to a lot of people, they say, well, you seem to have narrated how this whole thing happened, so what next then? Or maybe just for formality's sake, they will go through, come up with an investigation. But while they go on with this, they need to remember that life is lost. They can't bring them back. And all of these actions they take moving forward, will it be commensurate? What can ever be, really, to a life that is lost? But in terms of how they conduct themselves, perhaps this, if anything, this has got to be a major case, perhaps a lesson, a big one, because, I mean, if NSAS hasn't taught anyone anything, just wonder what next. But this is a very, very unfortunate one indeed.
It's a very tough one, Chamberlain. I mean, first you have to, put yourself in the shoes of that particular family who were just going about their business, mother in a shop, with her kids, as most mothers, will be those who have businesses and maybe have little children that are not in crash. In fact, schools are even going to be on holiday. Besides, it was supposed to be a weekend. So even if your child was in school normally, they most likely will be with you over the weekend. And if the mother runs a business or parents run a business, the children will most likely will be what the parents will be. And this could have happened anywhere, because don't forget that this operation was carried out in a community, within a community. So you might as well have been at home and you'll hear shots ringing somewhere and, a stray bullet, God forbid. And this is basically what we've seen. So it's very difficult to intervene on this matter. I think the only thing that jumps out at me, regardless of whatever is making its round on the social media space about how the father eventually got the attention of the NDLEA, is that the NDLEA hasn't denied that they could have shot that 2-year-old. They're claiming that it might be a case of a stray bullet from the NDLEA. And from their statement here, they're saying that it was in a bid to demobilize a car which had hit one of their own officers. And I tell you why this is particularly difficult, because we know that in recent times, the NDLEA has been trying its best to, ramp up the fight against illegal trafficking, illegal drug trafficking. And it's been making some success. And I imagine that success might have come or will be coming at a price. But the killing of a 2-year-old is a rather heavy, of an innocent 2-year-old, is a rather heavy price for us to pay on this particular occasion. And so I can only hope that, the family will accept the condolences of all Nigerians on this particular incident, that the NDLEA, the police say they're investigating. The NDLEA also says it's investigating. As you said, I'm not very certain as well what the outcome of the investigation is supposed to be. But I hope that they would, take full responsibility for the child that survived, the one who has had an injury, and that they will find ways to see how they can get justice for the young boy, justice that will be agreeable to both the parents and the community around, and to Nigerians as well, in such a way that, and immortalize this young boy, because really, a 2-year-old life just cut short like that is a very, very painful incident indeed. And I do hope that the particular person whom they were trying to get in this instance, who has caused this unnecessary death, that the NDLEA is also able to catch up with that particular person. Because when you try to, I don't know really, but there needs to be like another, maybe a review of standard operating procedure when you are within a community, thinking about, what will be the cost? Will it be better to let a criminal go? Or would it be better to just spray bullets in the air? I don't know how they were shooting. They say you're aiming for the tire, but this is something I went up in a story building. So, I mean, there needs to be a proper investigation, because this did not happen at the level where you would imagine that a tire was going to be shot. This bullet went wide. So I also think that there needs to be some review of how could that bullet, which was supposed to be aiming the tire of a car, how could it have gone wide? Maybe there needs to be more training in terms of how arms and ammunition are handled, especially when they're within communities. Nobody is above mistakes, but this is a very, very heavy, heavy mistake. And I do hope that, as they've taken responsibility here, that they follow that responsibility, not just by word of mouth, but also put in action where they say that they have indeed taken responsibility. Ayo and Coyote.
I mean, what more can we add, really? Grief actually does a lot of things to you. You begin to wonder, what if? I mean, they had just come back from school, Ivan and Romasele. They had just come back from school, and then the father dropped them, and you just start thinking, what if they didn't have to come to the, to the store? What if they just went home? I mean, it really messes with you.
So many what ifs.
Honestly, but the sad thing is, Ivan is dead. Well, Romosele, as a result of the shattered glass, was injured around the eyes, receiving treatment. And yes, all of those questions have been raised. We need to get answers. And it's important to note that there is very little trust, especially for people within that vicinity who witnessed what happened, who heard what happened. Some of them saw the father chasing after the officials. They have very little trust, even with this statement that has been put out. I mean, there are basic principles for how you use force and firearms, especially in public spaces. Has that been well taught to the people of the NDLEA and other security agents? Some will say, well, the NDLEA is not a force, essentially. If you want to make arrests, you get the police. That's a conversation for another day. This has happened. They need to be taught. Was the response proportional to what was said to have happened? Someone hitting one of their officials, who, by the way, the picture also is on social media of an official who's bandaged up. Again, questions about that picture. But the point is, the NDLEA should recognize that there is very little trust, and they must do right by the people. Absolutely.
And, that also underscores one thing, Kayode, the fact that agencies of government, ministries, departments, and agencies of government have to recognize that when Nigerians talk about government, they're talking about them. As far as the Nigerian is concerned, NDLEA is government. The official carrying that gun is government. As far as the Nigerian is concerned, let that be clear ab initio. So whenever you are executing your responsibilities, I mean, Malcolm, you made the point quite clearly. The challenge between allowing the criminal to go free to save lives and doing whatever it is that you want to do to get that person out. But was there a place for sensitivity to the environment, the busyness of that environment? I know that environment a little bit. It's like a major arterial road, in Delta State, and most certainly a very highly populated place. And one can only imagine the kind of place that criminals may want to hide themselves. And yes, now that this has happened now, does the end actually justify the means? I know, I mean, looking at that speech, there's a lot of government speaking there. A number of people, as Kayode, you've said, trust is lost. So whenever people receive, statements from government, they are looking to pick holes in it. what more can be said to that when already it is clear that investigation has been concluded one way or the other?
Because, forgive me, was it a flying car? I'm sorry I had to bring that again. Because
No.
the shop is on the first story. So how did the shots that was meant to be at a driving car go all the way? I mean, these are the questions we have to
Maybe
raise.
this is part of the investigation that is to be carried on, but off the top of my head, if it's a tarred road, if the gun was pointed from a particular angle, it could ricochet and go up. But then
Should the force still be as lethal?
Well, it's a ricochet. You know, one really never really knows how these things go. But, you know, we just have to wait for them to come up with this. But how important is what is the place of technology in dealing with these kinds of cases? Lastly from me, guys, if you've lost a child before, you will know how painful it is if it has happened to you before. So I'm appealing that government should be sensitive to the family at this point. Please. Chamberlain.
That area now, which is supposed to have been cordoned off, it is contaminated. Nothing else you can get from that. The community is moved on. Everything is going on. So we just hope that, who knows, well, everyone will be waiting to see what happens with this one, such that it will not be, as we I think we need to revisit that matter in Lagos, the lady who was shot by the police, the narratives that came through where there were some questions asking whether or not people were sure it was stray bullet from the police. That is not the kind of thing you want to see about this particular case, because this, as they've narrated here, we'll wait to see how that happens. Yes, we'll support the NDLEA in carrying out their duties, but you have to review your procedures and find out how do you conduct operations within communities. So that will be one key thing here. Let's go on and take you through some of the dailies now. We'll start with New Telegraph. Appointments, anger in APC as Tinubu loyalists take charge. That's the lead story on the front page of New Telegraph. The first of the rider here says, corner NAS appropriation slots. Akpabio, Abbas helpless on standing committees. Governors at the mercy of, quote, Lagos cabal. So there you go. There's always a thing with this kind of narratives and leadership when it does happen. So, yeah, that's what you see here on the front page. Military solution won't work in Northwest, ascribed to Shatima. Says Tinubu will unveil fresh initiatives to combat insecurity, poverty soon. Banditry clashes in Northwest caused by poverty, social exclusion. Act of brutality infringes on victims' constitutional rights. Look, when they say some of these things about poverty, social exclusion, I usually ask, look, is it that some areas are excluded and others are not? Because about this poverty, it's across board in different parts of the country. About social exclusion, you know, there are certain areas who would claim they've been marginalized way more than others. So if they were to cite this, they will tell you that everybody should have, been a bandit to those who say they can't fend for themselves. But the thing is, look, government is there now to make sure to provide solutions to all of this. All the reasons notwithstanding, all the people want now, solve it.
Oh, take a look. Indeed, solve it, Chamberlain. That's what governments are there for. That's what they, according to the president, they sang and they danced for, right?
So now do the job.
That's
no
the
complaints.
Work that they were dancing for. They should do the work. Leadership is the next one for you here. Tinubu looks beyond military to end insecurity in North. Opts for kinetic, non-kinetic approaches. Warns against continuous exploitation of Africa to strengthen ECOWAS standby force against terrorism. Others Well, you can see the president in a picture there with Dr. Akinwumi Adesina and the president of the Africa Export-Import Bank, Dr. Benedict Orama, during the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union in Nairobi yesterday. Well, you have a number of other stories right there on the front page, just in case you're wondering. In case you didn't see it, but take a look at this. Federal government may raise minimum wage to 200K to take decisions soon. Well, that's what leadership is reporting. That's not from me. Did you just...
Okay.
Chamberlain, something gets stuck in your throat.
It looks like...
You want to consider a civil service job?
I think 200K is stuck on my throat. So I don't know how I'm managing to speak. 200,000
naira, wow. Well, take a look at this. Sultan directs Muslims to look out for new moon of Muharram. That's also there. Confusion in APC over reported resignation of Adamu. The story is also there on page 7 of the paper. There's been a bit of a crisis within the NWC in recent times. It does appear that it might be culminating in a resignation of the national chairman of the party. But you might want to see the story on page 7. 4 years after inauguration, multi-billion naira Barrow Inland Port rots away. Okay, so would that be another white elephant project? Something that was started, supposed to be very grand, but still hasn't seen the light of day? Page 7 is where you get to find details. Let's leave it there for leadership newspapers.
All right. I mean, as a scientist, when you hear K, you might be thinking of the element K. Is it potassium or 1,000? I mean, it should not.
Or the name K.
Wow. Or the name K, I see. Nice one. Well, it should mean 1,000, I imagine. It's going to be a very interesting one. But let's turn our attention to Daily Trust newspaper with this lead. It's heavy in politics and it's bold. Adamu resigns as APC chair. Resignation letter sent to Tinubu, and it looks like there's an inside story. Real reasons ruling party's chair quit. I won't talk until president returns. So that's what you have. It's a big story. Nonetheless, a lot of people said this was coming anyway. The moment the president won that election, was declared winner of the election. And so you might want to take a look at the intrigues of that particular one. So the third chairman for the APC now.
In how many
succession?
tenures? Okay. Yeah.
Two presidents, 3 chairs. All righty.
Maybe one of the arguments that a number of people may want to come up, okay, the president is Muslim, vice president is Muslim. Maybe that is part of the whatever it is. But hey, I'm not a politician. What are you looking up in the skies for?
You definitely sound like one. There's a couple more. Forex unification, BDCs record boom in Lagos, lull in Abuja, Kano. So why is that so? Is it because Lagos is the commercial capital of a country? Let's leave it there for the Daily Trust.
Switch to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. It's definitely talking about something more concerning to you. Subsidy removal. FG targets 2-pronged relief for workers to provide palliatives, pay 200,000 naira minimum wage, to empower states to pay new wage, empower, not encourage. Sounds good. Stories on page 5 of the paper this morning. So many other stories, as you can see on the front page, but running out of time. So let me give you Mr. and Mrs. It's a Monday morning. So Mrs. and Mr. may have gone to a boutique. Mrs. on their way out, Mrs. is saying, take another look at the gown, dear. It's just 450,000 naira. And Mr. headed out says, don't look back, dear, lest you turn into a pillar of salt. That's the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Well, take a look at Nigerian Tribune next. Tinubu's cabinet. Everyone, I think, expecting some movement this week after the House perhaps screens, probably behind closed doors, the service chiefs. And then this week, expect a letter, probably, from the cabinet list. Yeah, it's supposed to hit the ground running, isn't it? So supporters worry over inclusion of ex-governors. He's already gathering a life of his own now, all those lists, even though Mr. Alake says, anything you see there is fake. When something is there, we will speak to you, but Mr. Alake, they're not waiting now, so it's taking a life of its own. Now look at the right, they say, it may cost government goodwill. Son of ex-CGN tipped as AGF. Battle for slots rages in Nasarawa, other states. Or probably you might say, as expected. So that's what you might see. Petrol subsidy removal, suspense in states over palliatives. We're waiting to see what the other states will do, because, I mean, some, if not one state, I think Rivers, they rolled out some buses. So what and how will other states approach it? So if you're going to roll out buses, the big question you should be ready to answer is, do you have a transport system in that state? And what is the, the modality? Because the ones that were there before, they're history now. They are history. Wait a minute, even in the FCT, we need to go back and check it. I think there's one they call, the ones that former Minister in the FCT, Nasir El-Rufai, that's the one that seems to, one or two, a few of them, but all the others, oblivion. So, something needs to be done differently this time. That is Tribune, guys.
Well, the Abuja Inquirer is right next up for you. Anti-malarial distribution. FCT fails WHO 2022 target. FCTA blames parents. Access. Deploys 9,000 field officers for 2023. You might find the details on page 3 of the paper. Now, what's the story about? Anti-malaria distribution. All right, you might want to see the story somewhere inside the papers. Parents are supposed to go and be getting anti-malarial for their children, and maybe they didn't see the need. That could be a reason. Military action can't solve Northwest crisis. That's according to Shetima. You find the details somewhere on page 3 of the paper. Well, that will be all for you for the Abuja Inquirer today.
Well, this Nigeria has this one. Serap to Akpabio, others, or rather Abbas, drop plan to buy 110 billion naira bulletproof cars. Now, that's where the others now comes in. 70 billion naira supplementary budget not for sharing, says Senate. And National Assembly says $800 million World Bank facility grant to poor Nigerians, not loan. Yeah.
Okay.
$800 million World Bank facility grant to poor Nigerians, not loan.
So we're not paying back.
Nigerians are not paying back, but Nigeria is paying back.
That's the point. So
it's just semantics, right?
Maybe I don't understand English again. So $800 million from the World Bank is gratis?
No, it's a loan. But to Nigerians, it's a grant.
Okay, so Nigerians
won't pay back to Nigeria, but Nigeria
is
back
a loan.
Yeah,
oh, God.
It's a loan. Let's just leave it at that. But Nigerians won't pay back to the government. I think that's a clarity being made here. And you see this one, IPOB, fresh 2-week sit-at-home order sparks concerns in Southeast. Stakeholders groan over a huge economic downturn. I can't just imagine how people are, getting by, living daily as a result of this. Really,
I'm actually very glad that at least now, more than ever before, we're hearing a lot of activities going on to battle that sit-at-home, whatever it is, to a stand. I'm so glad that we're doing that now. But for God's sake, who is going to return the 4 trillion naira according to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives that's been lost over the past 2 years?
Big question.
The Guardian newspaper has this one on its front page. Decongesting Lagos ports. Cash crunch, investors' apathy stall $8.5 billion deep sea port projects. Find the details of that on page 6 of the paper today. Right under the nameplate, Tinubu, Ruto call for financially autonomous AU, reject fresh scramble for Africa. I mean, I'd say about time. If Europe can be such a force to itself, why not Africa?
Why not?
And right beside that one, APC NEC, anxiety over resignation of Abdullahi Adamu. Now, that resignation here is in some kind of parenthesis. find out the details of that. Is that a resignation indeed, or is just another word for resignation? Again, find the details on the inside pages. That and several other stories you see on the front page. And that's the Guardian newspaper this morning, and the last of the papers we're taking. Just a look at the headlines today. A number of them have caught our attention. We'll bring them up on this lineup, coming up right after this break.
Thursday's plenary in the Green Chamber commences with a letter from the President. President Tinubu is seeking the approval of the House to secure a loan of $800 million initially requested by the immediate past administration for the Social Safety Net program.
Under the conditional cash transfer window of the program, the federal government of Nigeria will transfer the sum of 8,000 naira per month to 12 million poor and low-income households for a period of 6 months, with a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals. In order to guarantee the credibility of the process, digital transfers will be made directly to beneficiaries' accounts and mobile wallets.
Next, the House turns its attention to yet another request by the President, seeking an amendment to the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act to allow the federal government to source 500 billion naira for palliatives to cushion the effect of petrol subsidy removal. The matter is debated as it scales second and third reading.
Are we going to identify the most pressing needs of Nigerians? Is it going to be applied to transportation? Is it going to be applied to healthcare? Is it going to be applied to providing food or feeding, or increase in wages?
Our president has ably stated as well that he's going to take his time and make sure this palliative gets into the right hands, and I'm quoting him. Now, as a parliament, we should do our job, which is to oversight the funds when they are released.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, the President's request for approval of the sum of $800 million as additional fund for the financing of the National Social Safety Net program was also read, but unlike the House, it was approved.
Distinguished colleagues, those who are in support of the request and application by Mr. President, the Senate do approve the additional financing of about $800 million to be sourced from the World Bank for the purpose of the Social Safety Net program. Say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it.
And like the House, the Senate passes the 2022 Supplementary Act Amendment Bill as requested by President Tinubu. A breakdown of the amended bill, which was initially to fix infrastructure destroyed by floods across the country, shows that 185.2 billion naira will now go to the Ministry of Works to alleviate the impact of flooding across the country, while 19.2 billion naira will go to the Ministry of Agriculture, which is to address the destruction of farmlands across the country by floods. 100 million naira to the Ministry of Water Resources to cushion the impact of damaged dams across the country. Also, the National Judicial Council will receive 35 billion naira, while the Federal Capital Territory Administration gets 10 billion naira for critical projects, and the National Assembly will receive 70 billion naira for infrastructure. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
All right, welcome back. So that is what we start off with here this morning. Honorable Dennis Agbo is right here in the studios with us. He's a member of the 10th House of Reps. But we will also expect to be joined by Honorable Peter Akpanke, who is also a new member representing the PDP in the House of Representatives. Good morning, and thank you for joining us
today.
Good
morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, responses across board concerning this 70 billion naira to National Assembly. Sarah is speaking. Several people are weighing in on this matter, saying, wait a minute, something is amiss here. But what we see here is that it is to National Assembly members supporting the working conditions of new members. So you fall into this category, isn't that the case?
Well, new member in the sense that I wasn't in the 9th Assembly.
Yeah, so new in this 10th Assembly.
So yeah, so
you're one of those that will benefit.
Yes.
This 70 billion, you're part of those who is for.
Oh yeah, even the old members too, so-called old members, even people who were in the 9th Assembly, they have to move office. You may move to a new office, you find the office in some kind of condition. So generally, the entire National Assembly is being renovated.
So wait. Are you saying that all members of the National Assembly qualify as new members?
I'm saying that in the sense of what this money is going to be used for, everybody qualifies as new member. That is, we are all coming into the 10th National Assembly. Because what is it for? It's for the entire facelift that is being given to the National Assembly to prepare the place for our use in the 10th National Assembly.
Is that how the National Assembly is interpreting it, or that's how it was spelled out from the executive to the National Assembly?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, because for instance, I'm allocated an office now. The last time I came here, I didn't have an office. I have an office now. The office is not in a state of readiness for use. So certain things are being done, certain items have been vandalized, painting has to be done, a lot of work is being done right now. Sometimes we are doing these things by ourselves, just to move on.
Are you telling us now that the 9th, the 8th, the 7th, all the assemblies, they didn't get this kind of money, but they had offices, and the offices were furnished?
Okay, well, I am not... what I'm saying is that even if you consider that to be the issue, the National Assembly complex is gradually aging. As sessions come and go, the entire complex ages. So sometimes after 4 years, you may decide, okay, I think this place can do another 4 years without a total makeover, a total facelift. But now we met this place in a condition that, no, even the dome, everything is being renovated.
But
and I'm also aware that certain security gadgets are being installed.
Yeah, but are you telling us that when the 9th Assembly began that renovation, there was no budget, or there isn't any budget for it?
The budget we are talking about was actually inherited from the 9th Assembly. They had passed the budget.
Yeah, that renovation is already factored in.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, you mean in the national budget? In the national budget.
The National Assembly has budgeted for their renovation.
If you had provided for the renovation of the National Assembly in the national budget, because this is a supplementary budget of 819 billion. If the renovation of the National Assembly was in the the principal national budget of 2022-2023, then it didn't need to be included in this supplementary budget.
What we see here is working conditions of new members.
Yeah.
But now you're saying everybody in the National Assembly qualifies as quote-unquote.
In the context of this word, new members now, it's not about people who are not ranking. Everybody is a new member in the 10th Assembly.
So if you tell us that, if you say that this is for that building, the edifice.
Yes. Not only the building, you know that we have also facilities to work with. Like in an office that's supposed to be a computer, laptops, photocopy machines, the phone system, the intercom, and all of those things.
So
a lot of them are not working as we talk.
And the National Assembly.
And the last assembly, the members are given, each assembly, the members are given the option to buy up the equipment in their office. So,
not the furniture.
No, the equipment. These computers and not the furniture. Not the furniture. Not the furniture. The equipment, the laptops, the printers, and such equipment. Maybe fridge or something. So, and the money is deducted if they don't have the money to pay. The money is deducted from their terminal benefits.
Did the National Assembly request for this specifically in terms of the budget breakdown?
They must have.
Because
this aspect of the amount that is being spent on the National Assembly was inherited from the supplementary budget already passed by the former legislature. As a matter of fact, if you know, the bill that we considered and passed only requested the requested approval for utilization of 500 billion out of that 819 billion for palliatives. So the focus of attention this time around was actually on the palliatives.
So if you say they must have requested for this 70 billion?
Yeah, because I was not a part of the National Assembly.
So have you seen any request whatsoever about this?
The request doesn't come to me, but
No, I'm not asking if it came to you. I said, have you seen it?
I've not seen it. But I don't have to see it. For instance, the communication that came from the president did not come to me, but it was read to the entire plenary. So it requested us to approve the use of the amount of 500 billion for palliatives out of already approved supplementary budget of 819 billion.
Well, I think we'll come down to the 500 billion and the process that the National Assembly used to approve that, because some people will say they didn't see any rigor in terms of the questions that ought to be asked of the executive as to how they intend to implement the palliatives meant for vulnerable people in society. But rightly, attention has been drawn to the 70 billion which the National Assembly has approved for itself to help the working conditions of new members. And initially, I mean, I told my colleague I was going to approach with caution, that I was going to hear the members of the National Assembly first before, well, at least let them give us a breakdown of what exactly the 70 billion naira is a lot of money. Honourable, you must agree.
Yes.
Do you really think that with the economy and the fact that we're asking people to tighten their belts, don't forget that the 500 billion which the federal government is, asking for is supposed to go to the most vulnerable in society. It's not going to be for the average Nigerian. And if we're to look at average people, National Assembly members will not qualify as average Nigerians. They will be at least above average Nigerians.
Way above average.
At the very minimum. And so I'm looking at a breakdown of this 70 billion. And you can tell me if that's not how it's going to be, but it will seem that it amounts to almost 150 million naira per member. Can we really justify that amount of money?
Okay. Now, first of all, let me not lose the trend of your question. First of all, attention is being drawn naturally to the 70 billion. But like you rightly said, we are leaving the main subject matter, which is the palliatives. And before I forget, let me talk about that before I'll come back to...
No, Honourable. Let's well, as I said,
come back to your question about it, because we started discussing...
we'll come back to the 500 billion. I know why I say we'll come back to that. I want us to focus on this 150 million per member. That's how I'm going to look at this. I'm not going to look at it as 70 billion. 150 million naira for each member to help their working conditions.
Okay. Now, even let me say how ridiculous your thinking is, or what you're wanting us to believe. Even the access route to the National Assembly, you want to give me a part of it. Of course, I have a part of it. The dome I have a part of it because I look at it every time I drive into the complex. The buildings, each member, as it begins to come to me now, has a suite. That suite has like 3 mini offices. It has an office, a little office for the SLA, the secretary, and then the main office for the member. That portion is being renovated, it's being painted, it's being made over. So that bit relates to me too. I walk on the corridor. Sometimes you see leaking, water leaking from the roof on the corridor. Those things will get attention. It also relates to me because even the cooling system at the walkway, I pass through it too. Then I am come to that back to my office again. The computer, the photocopier, and all those things, they also relate to me. Now, let me say, all those things put together, including the security systems, will they cost up to 70 billion? I have not queried. If you have, I didn't have opportunity to look at item by item. How much will it cost me to paint my office if I should do it by myself? How much will it take me to change the security system if I'm to do it by myself? To do the entire work in the National Assembly, whether it will cost that much. I'm not in the position, I'm not in leadership. Eventually, I contested, I ran for leadership. I couldn't win.
Yeah,
I did not win.
Don't you think that Nigerians deserve to know?
Good.
Because all we've just said is this lump sum.
Definitely.
You know, because right now you have said that, it includes the repair of the dome. Yes, Nigerians are aware of the fact that the chambers, the central chambers of the National Assembly, both chambers have been, out of use for some time now, and where you're currently using is not where you're supposed to be using. And there are visuals of rain dropping through and coming into the chambers, and nobody wants that. But we understand that has been fixed, or that's been taken care of by the FCTA administration. That is being taken care of by FCT authorities. Now, you can correct us if we're wrong, but we understand that has already been appropriated for. If we're now seeing a fresh 70 billion naira in a supplementary budget, then we need to understand what it is. I mean, the breakdown for, if they say for the welfare of new members, we know that when new members come into the National Assembly, they will get furniture allowance, they'll get a car allowance, they will get, all manner of allowances. Fine. Is this 70 billion a part of it, or is this just for infrastructure at the National Assembly?
I can't speculate because the bill clearly says it's for infrastructure. The payment of allowances is not infrastructure, definitely. It may include other things like equipment. Facilities you use to work also includes even the vehicles you use.
So as a member, you are not exactly aware of what this 70 billion is for. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't get the whole breakdown of the entire 70 billion. Like I said again, let me repeat, the approval, we did not even consider the portion of that supplementary budget that was attributable to the National Assembly. We focused on the palliative. And can I talk about this palliative?
By all means, let's go to the palliative, because some people have said that what has happened with this palliative is that, because of this 70 billion that has been attached to the requests for the approvals, the National Assembly has been sweetened to just approve everything that the executive arm of government brings before it without proper scrutiny.
Okay. Dear Nigerians, I think that we should be given opportunity. We, members of the National Assembly, should be given opportunity to scrutinize. Now, this bill came like, everything was passed in one day. It was called a bill having to do with palliatives. So the mindset already was, hasten up to give Nigerians palliatives from the biting effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. Now, the communication from the president was read. After that, the business of the day commenced. The bill was taken. The bill for that, because it's an appropriation bill, it was taken first reading. Then, along the line again, we went to motions. It was now for it now appeared for as a bill for consideration so that the second reading can be taken. It was considered, and let me now pause here to say about 12 or 14 people spoke. I did not speak. Question is, for the spending of 500 billion for palliatives, which Nigerian people have been waiting for all this while, was 14 people enough to speak to get the total picture of what Nigerians want? I did not get the opportunity to speak. And like I mentioned here the last time I was in this program, I say that I have specialty in this area of administering such palliatives or addressing the needs of the low-level Nigerians. So, but since we have been reading what Nigerians want, we have been reading that even a committee was set up, and the Labour was saying that they had gone to the committee, submitted what they thought, what they wanted to the committee. That why didn't we wait for? What I want to tell Nigerians is that from what we see, from the day this thing came up in the House, because it took, even the third reading was taken and the bill was passed, that is not the end of the journey. The bill for spending 500 billion for palliatives was passed. But how that palliatives will be spent, the executive has their own, they have their own idea about what they want. But we have seen that what Nigerians are thinking may be different from what the executive is thinking. Right, and we see some sense in what Nigerians are trying to suggest.
We do have your colleague joining us.
We expect.
Don't worry, we'll come back to you still. Honorable Peter Akmanke joins us next. He's a member representing Obanliku Obudu-Bekwara Federal Constituency. He's a member of the PDP and in Cross River State. He joins us virtually. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, as you may have heard, many would like to understand the rationale behind this 70 billion naira to National Assembly, because the FCT got 70 billion, or well, they had to get 70 billion for capital, so for it,
10 billion.
critical, 10 billion for critical projects. So, and we do know that the FCT is handling some renovation in the House and this in the National Assembly. So could you help us understand, have you seen a breakdown, for instance, of how this 70 billion, which is going to the National Assembly for infrastructure, new working conditions of new members, have you seen a breakdown of how this is going to be utilized?
Well, good morning. I have not seen a breakdown. I've just been hearing you people talking about 70 billion. But I think that the president sent the bill, and the bill was captioned for palliatives to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy, which is a commendable idea. We know how Nigerians have been lamenting on this fuel subsidy issue. On the 70 billion to National Assembly, I know we have a capable leadership, so I think we shouldn't be in a hurry to be mentioning that kind of humongous figure. The leadership will certainly have a breakdown of how this money is going to be spent, and I believe, in fact, talking about 70 billion, the 70 billion has not come. It's still, how do I call it? It's still, people are still assuming until it comes. I feel the leadership will give Nigerians a proper breakdown of how they intend to spend this money and how the money is spent. And independent auditors will actually watch and check how this money is spent. So for now, I will advise or suggest that Nigerians be patient and see if this money is released. And then for you, the media houses, you monitor how it is being spent. But I'm very sure, I can assure you that nothing will go wrong by the grace of God.
Well, when you say people are in a hurry and you know, that kind of narrative, but National Assembly already passed it. So who's in a hurry here? Because, I mean, it was the governor went down with a big smile on the SP's face, and when you say the money hasn't come, if it's been approved, the next thing is that it will be disbursed. So
it has not been disbursed until it is disbursed. They passed it. Has it been implemented? It has not been implemented. Passing and implementation, they are two different things.
Well, if it's been approved, it's been approved. Are you then telling us that they can approve this, but the members will not see it?
I'm not saying so. I'm saying until it comes. I'm not saying they approve. The members who releases the money is not the executive. So what if the money is approved and it's not released? How do we see it? How do members get to see it?
But Honorable Akpanke, do you, in other words, it doesn't come across as though you have any concerns or objections for this amount of money to go to the National Assembly when there are several Nigerians who will not benefit from this 500 billion naira palliatives, if you remember?
The palliative, I don't want to believe that several Nigerians will not benefit. I think we should allow the president tell us how he wants to achieve this. That's what I feel. He only wrote to the National Assembly requesting for approval, and he said he wants to give palliative to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy. I'm sure he has his plan on how he is going to reach out to Nigerians. So let us allow him execute this plan. We are the legislature. We will certainly monitor what is happening. And then for leadership for them to say they are giving 70 billion to the National Assembly, there should be need for this money. And I'm telling you that this me sitting down here, I will monitor how this money is being spent, how it comes, whatever is done with it. And I will contact you with the media house if anything goes wrong.
All right, let's go to our colleagues in Lagos.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Let's start the monitoring from now, Honorable, because you seem to be saying that money was approved without a plan for what the money will be used for. And I mean, I know that even you know that is not possible because in this setup, monies are always budgeted for before they are approved and then the money disbursed. So it's a given that you know what that money is for before the approval process. And I believe you're not saying that there was nothing the money was budgeted for before it was approved, but help us understand this. So the National Assembly is already being renovated. 30 billion naira was budgeted for it. As at the last time, I think about a month or two ago, about 19 billion naira was spent. So are you saying that 30 billion naira was not enough now? You're adding 70 billion naira. That's 100 billion naira to renovate the National Assembly.
If you go to the National Assembly, what is being renovated at the moment is the main chambers. We are using the temporary chambers. What is being renovated is the main chambers. You know that most of the members of the National Assembly didn't return. Most of us are new members. The offices need to be renovated. The offices, you need to, you're a journalist, you need to come to the National Assembly. Try and visit the offices. Most offices are not in good conditions. So members, the offices need serious renovation. It's unfortunate that maybe this was not done before we were sworn in, but if you come to the National Assembly, you see that the main thing that's being renovated is the chambers. The main chambers, the offices are not being renovated. So the offices need to be fixed. If you go to some places, you see certain things that you won't like. Some places, water is leaking and all of that. All those things need to be fixed. So there's so much to be done. That is why I said for the leadership the leadership knows what they are doing. For this amount, 70 billion naira, to say it needed for the National Assembly renovation and all of that, I'm sure there's a need for it. And like I've said, let us not be in a hurry to talk about the amount. Let us follow up and monitor how this money is being used, whether it is properly put in place or not. And I'm telling you that I personally am going to monitor, and if anything is going on, I'll be one of the first persons to report to you people.
Okay, Honorable, we're due for a break now. Again, I don't want to believe you're saying 100 billion naira is what is enough to renovate the National Assembly. I'm even trying to put the words together because even the second Niger bridge costs just, 400 billion naira or thereabouts. So I'm not, but we need to go to break now, Honorable. When we return, we'll raise these issues because it concerns you and I and 200 million Nigerians. So please stay with us.
That only comes from knowing you are fully sorted, to show up for you just when you need a hand, and when retirement comes with all its worries and storms, to ensure we will stand by you and give you the coverage that you deserve. Make the perfect choice. Choose PAL Pensions today.
PAL Pensions, your pal for life.
Yes, sir. Everything is available.
For quality iron rods, Swinspager.
For original binding wire, Swinspager.
For original nails, Swinspager.
Swinspager is the distributor of Dangote cement and we deliver for free.
Thank you very much. The satisfaction of our customers is of utmost importance to us.
Swinspager, quality and integrity. All the time.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
Palliatives is the buzzword at this point. We still have with us Honorable Peter Akpanke, who's of the People's Democratic Party, joining us virtually, and Honorable Dennis Agbo in our Abuja studio. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and for providing clarity on these issues, because you're closer to it than millions of Nigerians are. So we're talking about that, you know, the provisions, different provisions that have been approved, and it's important to educate Nigerians. So I was asking essentially, because the Deputy Speaker particularly said, well, this is for infrastructure. I know a statement was put out by the House of Reps saying, well, it's not just for infrastructure. There'll be, you know, staff, that you have, you know, hundreds of staff within that environment. So tell us pointedly now, if you were to be given a lump sum out of this, are you saying you would reject this and blow the whistle to Nigerians that, wait a minute, this money is not being used for what it was meant to be used for? Is that what you're telling Nigerians?
What I'm saying is this. We are talking about this lump sum, 70 billion, 20 billion. You know that the 20 billion was from the last assembly. In this assembly, like I said, there's a lot of work to be done.
No, I know. I'm just asking pointedly that because you said that you'll tell Nigerians if it's not done right. So are you saying...
What are they giving 70 billion to do?
No, are you saying if you're given a lump sum, a share of that, just hypothetically speaking, you would blow the whistle and tell Nigerians that, no, I don't want this?
This money has passed in the supplementary budget, has all its subheads. And I'm telling you that there is a reason for this money, and all these subheads will certainly be implemented.
I understand that, but I'm saying in the event that that doesn't happen, would you, it's just a yes or no question, Honorable, would you tell Nigerians that, well, Nigerians, you need to see what's going on here. This money has been given to me and it is wrong.
Why would I say that? Why would I tell Nigerians? I will tell them.
All right.
If the staff allowance they are talking about is not paid, the cars are not bought, I will tell Nigerians.
No, I'm saying if the money is given to you, hypothetically speaking now, I'm asking if it is given to you, would you reject it and blow the whistle?
Given to me. If I need a car, I need an office renovated. If the money is given to me to renovate my office, I will renovate my office and put my bill. If the money is given to me to buy a car, I'll buy a car and give people the bill.
All right.
But if it's not given, I'll blow the whistle.
Oh, okay. If it's not given to you, you'll blow the whistle. But if it's given to you, you would not blow the whistle.
If it's budgeted for, I'll blow the whistle. I mean, the money has to be spent the way it has been budgeted for. They don't need to give it to me directly. If they say a contractor is coming to renovate your office, I have no option. I have no reservation. If they say a contractor is coming to supply you a car, it's my official car, I will take it. But that's what I think part of the money is meant for. If they say you have 7 staff or 5 staff, they are paying them from this, or they want to increase my allowance, of course, I will take it. But if there's no reason for the money, why would I collect it? I will not.
All right. Thank you for clarity on that one. I just one more before we wind up, but because a lot of Nigerians will think, can't those in government make sacrifices? I mean, it's been said that legislators are actually way better than even middle-class Nigerians, doing quite well. Some of you have said it, you were millionaires before you came into the House. So is it too much to stay in an office that is unpainted for the good of a country? Is it too much to say, I do not need this car?
We need
Allow me to land, Honorable, just a moment, thank you. Is it too much to say, you know what, I will go for my legislative duties maybe in a taxi or in the vehicle I have already, because I can imagine a lot of you are doing very well. Is it too much to ask for at least to sacrifice for the majority of Nigerians who are living below the poverty line? Is it too much to ask?
You need a good working environment.
Nigerians need a good living environment too.
You need a car to drive to the office. You need an office to sit down, write your bills, your motions, and all of that. You need an office to even receive visitors, your constituents. You need a good office to try to bring the dividends of democracy to your people. Like your studio now, if it's under a Keja Market Bridge, under the rain, how do you think it will function here?
Well, those are two different issues, Honorable. Those are two different issues, really. You were elected by the people. Majority of those people are poor, yet lots of monies are being budgeted for, you know, very lush conditions for the legislators, while the average Nigerian out there is not doing well. That is what I am saying. Is it too much to sacrifice? But let's add to this point another clarity. So $800 million from the World Bank, 500 billion naira from the supplementary budget. The $800 million from the World Bank is about, what, 600 billion naira. Together, that's, what, 1.1 trillion naira. Help us understand, how is that going to work then, really? Because a lot of people are focusing on them individually, but together, that's a lot of money.
Well, when you hear all these figures, like I told you from the onset, this money, nobody will just wake up from the blues and start calling money. This money, there's a reason, there's a need for this money. There's a reason for it. And the executive said, okay, give us approval to get this money to cushion the effect of the subsidy, to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy that was removed. And I think, like I said, let's be patient and see how this money comes and how it's being spent. That's why there are checks and balances. We will certainly look at the books, see how the money is being spent, try to monitor the transparency in spending this money. As I speak to you, like we're saying sacrifice, I'm home. I'm talking to you from home. I'm always constantly in touch with my people, trying to know what their problems are and trying to see how I solve their problems. I'm home. I'm in my village as I speak to you.
Okay. Honorable Agbo, let me bring this to you. Of course, I caught a little bit of your reaction to what Honorable Apanke was saying there. You may want to add a word or two. But let me just bring this up to you. Are you aware of the palliative committee set up by the president, you know, from the National Economic Council? Are you aware that that committee also has a function along this particular line? Is the National Assembly working in any way, Honorable Agbo, with that palliative committee headed by the governor of Kebbi State?
Okay. Thank you for that question. I'm aware that it's a committee that was set up, and I'm concerned that what was proposed by the executive, which we passed, is not exactly, it didn't take into consideration whatever the committee was going to recommend. I'm also aware that certain members of that committee, including Labour, the Labour Union, the organized Labour, they are complaining that their input into that committee has not been taken into consideration in trying to propose the bill from the executive. I want to do something about this because at the end of the day, it's all about the Nigerian people. That is something I can do. I can decide to send a private memo to my speaker and say, look, this is what is happening. And there seems to be some very intelligent, very considerable suggestions from the Nigerian people, and especially, you know, that you know, a committee was set up, and the Nigeria may need to hear from them what their suggestions are too. It's all about spending that money for Nigerian people, and the Nigerian people may have their own preferred suggestions as to what to do with that money which we approve. There are things to do too. I can also come to the floor of the House with a motion. I can come to the House with a motion, and if I have a clearance of the leadership, I'll present a motion and ask that we take another look at not the passage of the expenditure now, but the modus operandi, how this money will be expended.
So then it will be good if you can give us an inkling. My apologies for butting in. If you can give us an inkling of how that would go, because of course Marquette did a little math to you for you on the 70 billion and divided by the number of members in the National Assembly. But if you divide 12 million by 36 states and the FCT, it will give you 324,324 people in each state, including the FCT. So how would that distribution, from your own perspective, how would you propose that it be done, especially when there are 46 million people on the social register as at now, but just about 12 million people are being targeted for 6 months?
Okay, if you ask me, I will suggest that direct cash transfer may not be the best option for now, so that the effect, so that the cushion, the palliative will reach a greater number of Nigerians. If you ask me, I would rather suggest that bulk of that money, in fact, if possible, the whole of that money, be expended to improve on production in Nigeria. Agricultural production, especially, in particular. That we still have, and by the way, I'm happy that the president is also proposing certain things about agriculture. But I want to say that that is even more urgent than trying to distribute 8,000 per household, because 8,000 in today's terms means next to nothing. And especially, they are also saying that a household is
Honorable, when you say, just one moment, pardon me, Honorable, when you say that 8,000 naira per individual isn't anything, I mean, understandable in Abuja, understandable in Lagos, understandable in Port Harcourt, and urban Nigeria. Have you in any way factored in rural Nigeria, where 200 naira could mean quite a lot of money to those people? So when you say 800 naira isn't anything, understandably so. However, did you factor in the fact that in some localities in Nigeria, some people don't earn up to 5,000 naira in 6 months?
Okay, now let me tell you. Number one, let me correct the impression. It's not 8,000 to an individual. It's actually 8,000 to a household. So they are targeting 12 million households, which comes to 60 million Nigerians. That is why the executive is saying they have upscaled from the 50 million targeted individuals in Nigeria to 60 million. Now, so whether you are in the rural places in Nigeria or in the urban places in Nigeria, right now, 8 million for a household of 5 people.
8,000.
8,000 naira. 8,000 naira for a household of 5 people does not mean much. We are talking about food prices.
It's not 8,000 naira to a family. It is not 8,000 naira to a household. It's 8,000 naira to 12 million poor Nigerians, not to 12 million households.
No, it is 12 million households.
Okay.
12 million households. And a bag of rice in Nigeria as of today is going for like 60,000. 60,000 naira is the bag of rice. So whether you're in the rural place or you're anywhere, you buy rice. A bag of maize is costing about 20-something thousand. You don't even find maize to feed chicken, to feed pigs, to feed animals, to do feed, to blend feed for these animals. How can we then pursue agricultural production, enhancement of agricultural production? My suggestion is that this money, if you use it to increase agricultural production, it will make a significant impact. And then prices will come down and it will affect every household in Nigeria. If the price of food begins to come down, it will affect everybody. Because even to profile the 12 million households or the 60 million individuals, how will you do it so that Nigerians don't complain again? But if you push this into increasing agricultural production, something significant will happen, because 500 billion naira is not a small amount if you look at it that way. So if you want to make sure that the farmers that want to go to their farms and farm have security, and that people and bandits are not going to attack them and make them unsafe in their farms, and if you are going to address the issue of flooding, and if you are going to provide seedlings for enhanced output, if you are going to give them support, access to credit, access to, what they call it, extension services, people to go and tell them the new ways of farming so that output could be increased. I read the president saying that he wants to put 500,000 hectares of land under cultivation.
Right.
For me, that is better news to me than trying to send 8,000 naira to a household.
So it looks like
money could be used to. Yes.
Pardon me. So it looks like this is a position of the Labour Party, perhaps the Labour Party in the National Assembly, as to how this money should be expended, or is this a personal view? Also, so the 8,000 naira to the households within 6 months, is that just for the $800 million? How will the 500 billion naira be expended as palliatives? I do hope you can hear me, Honourable. Okay, I'll just take my question again, Honourable, if you can hear me.
Can I answer him?
Can you hear me, Honourable?
If it is not the view of Labour Party, but I'm a representative in the National Assembly. I'm a member of the House of Representatives. And so my view also will influence the public opinion. What I'm saying is that I have opportunity, because I'm a member. I can come, like I say, by private memo to the leadership, or I can come by motion on matters of urgent public importance, because now this has become a topical issue.
So is it also just for the 500 or for the 800 as well?
The 800, the 500 is part of the 800. The remaining part of the 800 is where you talk about water resources, talk about flooding, talk about FCT, talk about judiciary, talk about House of Representatives, and talk about other things. That's the makeup of the balance. Now, but we are now focusing at this particular moment on the issue of the 500 billion. I'm saying that 500 billion, if you utilize it properly in irrigation, giving us more than 3 cycles of maize cultivation in 1 year, if you utilize it to extend improved seedlings through the agencies, the agricultural institutions and agencies, and it will reach these farmers, if you use it to give them access to credit, if you use it to improve access to market, because a lot of them cultivate things and they spoil in their places because they don't have good road access, even if it is not tarred roads, but earth roads. Good earth roads that can give them good access to market, because the critical issues are access to credit, access to market, access to extension services. These are what the farmers, and then security, of course, which is very key in this case. If you provide these things and assure farmers that they can safely go to farm and cultivate and bring out the output, I am sure, because I'm also involved in agriculture, prices will come down. And when prices come down, the effect of it will be better felt by Nigerians, even more than the 8,000 naira for a household.
So, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was actually going to take a question to Honourable Akpanke, but I don't know if he's still there now. Oh, Honourable, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Okay. Loud and clear.
Fantastic. So, Honourable, I just wanted to, you have said that, if certain monies are meant for your allowances and, you know, a number of other things, you are going to be, you know, you're going to take those allowances. I mean, if that's what they're meant for. But I'm wondering, as a member of the opposition, and you're going to be one of the opposition voices in the National Assembly, people are wondering whether, you know, they're going to be hearing anything different from the ruling party, given the unanimity with which some of these approvals have sailed through. What's your take on that?
Well, being a member of opposition doesn't mean that when a policy is right, you have to oppose it. There's what we call edible opposition. When this bill was brought to the House, to be very fair and sincere, it was not just given an approval. I heard my colleague telling you that 14 persons spoke on the bill. There were questions raised on this and that, and at the end of the day, we decided to give it approval. Like I said from the beginning, the president, even though I'm a member of the opposition party, the president, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has started very well. If you look at his policies, there's hope that by the grace of God, things will be better. On this, I'm saying we shouldn't be hasty to mention the amounts, to feel that the amount is too big or all of that. He has a plan for requesting for this money. Let us watch and see how he's going to execute this plan. Like I heard my colleague say, some of this money is not just to pay to individuals or even pay allowances like we are saying. Let us put some of this to agriculture. You know what the president is already doing in the agricultural sector to make sure there's food sufficiency in the country. Everybody needs to eat to survive. And then I'm saying we as the legislature, we are going to monitor how this money is being spent. If it is not being spent the way they have told it to be spent, we'll come to you people and shout.
Yeah, but the problem right now is that we don't even know the way. I mean, we would have imagined that before the National Assembly approved some of these monies, that there would have been a presentation by members of the executive, perhaps to explain to members and maybe take the questions of members of the National Assembly, who are our representatives, so that the larger Nigerian populace can actually understand the thinking of the executive. But that hasn't happened. What we've seen is that, oh, it was presented, it was debated amongst members by themselves, and that was that. And then it was approved expressly on the same day. So people are wondering, you know, if this is the sort of unanimity we're going to be getting, we might as well have a one-party National Assembly.
The issue, we appreciate the fact that Nigerians are suffering. For every right-thinking Nigeria, the issue as it affects Nigerians, it should be something that should be given speedy attention or speedy approval. If you say you want to cushion, we know how Nigerians have been suffering over this fuel subsidy issue. And if the president writes to the National Assembly and says he wants an approval so as he could cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy, every right-thinking Nigerian will go that line. And then see how we can bring Nigerians, those Nigerians who are suffering out of this poverty and hardship we are going through. So I want to still emphasize that the president has done, approval has been given. It is left for us now to monitor to see whether what he actually said he's going to do in this aspect, he's going to do it. And then we hope that the president is experienced, that he knows what Nigerians are going through. It didn't just come from anywhere. And like all of us, as I speak to you, I'm in my federal constituency. I know what people are going through. Today, I'm even going to distribute some food items to my constituents, just to, at least, for people to survive, hoping that with this the president has put in place, or with this approval given, in a few months, in a few weeks, things will be better, and at least we can be able to cushion the effects of this hardship Nigerians are going through. So the National Assembly, we the opposition in the National Assembly, we are really going to put our eyes and look at what the executive is doing. Anything that is not right, we will let you know. I have said that, yes, this approval has been given because it has to do with Nigerians. If it's any other thing, we would have said, okay, let's take 2 weeks and debate it. But on this, it's about the sufferings that Nigerians are going through. So we have to give it.
Well, Honorable Akmanke, when you say anything that is not right, you let us know as we wind down this one. So was it right to have passed this without getting the breakdown of what these monies were meant for?
If you look at, have you looked at that document?
Do you have a breakdown specifically of what the 70 billion is meant for?
Have you looked at it?
Do you have a breakdown of it? Because we asked you and you said you don't have it.
Have you looked at the document yourself? And I think this breakdown you are talking about, at every point we go, at every bit, whatever is to be done, whatever was appropriated for it will be open. You will see, they say, okay, 5 million.
You haven't seen, we asked, you are the member. So we did ask you. That's why we invited you to give us that breakdown. And that's what we asked you. And you said you didn't have it. So it means you passed the whole document. Well, you didn't even see the breakdown.
Well, where I'm here, I don't have the breakdown, but I think the document was served around to us. We read through it before giving those approval. I cannot give you those breakdown offhand where I am, but I think we passed it because looking at it, debating it, considering it critically, it was something worth doing.
All right, Honorable Agbo, when you talk about these few millions of households that will benefit from this 8,000 concerns raised, so was there any concern raised, or what will be done to businesses, organizations, companies, several other people who will not benefit from this?
For now, what the executive brought was a consideration of 12 million households at an estimated number of 5 persons per household, targeting estimated 60 million poor Nigerians. Now, like I said, it is not too late to give another look at this. And there are ways to do this according to the rules of the parliament.
Yeah, I understand you. I'm asking, was there any consideration raised on the floor of the House for companies that employ lots of people who are also feeling this pinch? Was it raised on the floor?
Yes. During the contributions, I don't know, I can't remember exactly the member, but concern was also raised about improving the business environment.
What did they ask for specifically?
For instance, interest rates. Somebody spoke about interest rates being too high and that interest rates can be moderated in Nigeria. That is a point. That is correct. But there are, just like I said,
palliatives for businesses, companies that are employing lots of Nigerians. Not all of them are going for interest rates.
No, of course. Most businesses, if interest rates are high, it affects businesses, definitely.
Is that a palliative consideration?
Yeah, you can help a business by moderating the interest rate. You can help
members too.
Not even a business. You can help businesses across board by moderating interest rates. And I'm saying, in my own preference, addressing the issue of agricultural production will solve this problem for us. And I'm sure, I'm very sure,
nothing directly for companies, no direct intervention.
Let the environment be good for them.
Is the environment rather than targeting
rather than targeting these members, it is the working environment. It is like I don't know if I should contribute to the question asked my colleague. It is not, no member is going to collect 1 naira. It is to improve the working conditions. If the cost of that renovation or improving the working condition is considered too high by Nigerians, they have opportunity to still query it through their representatives.
And when you said those electronics were sold to members, do you know if they paid into the federation account or which account did they pay for?
No, I was also a member in the 8th Assembly, and I acquired the.
What did you pay to?
It was deducted directly from. I don't even know how much.
So did they plow it back to new members so they can buy those equipments?
No, it was just taken back to the treasury. It as a recovery. Revenue from disposal of equipment.
Honourable Dennis Agbo, member, 10th Assembly, representing Labour Party, as well as Honourable Peter Akpanke, member representing PDP Cross River State. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a moment and we'll talk about how do you ensure the safety and security of your online transactions, your phones, wherever you are. So it is news that you can use. Stay on with us. We will be right back. Welcome back. Talking about another money matter, but in a different way. We've got David Dada joining us this morning. He is the president, DTCcorp.ng. He's an ICT consultant, smart contract developer, and information security expert, among several other things. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Nice to be here.
Well, this is coming up because, I mean, over the weekend, the news of the arrest of a certain Abayomi Oluwasesan, who, by operatives of Interpol, they said at the time that he allegedly hacked into his company's blockchain account and stole $87 million, and then which led to why they're raising an awareness campaign on security consciousness, what people need to do. And, you know, about this blockchain technology too. Several people, yes, they spoke about it, but not a lot of people understood what it entailed. Many just, okay, they trust a certain person, invest their money and trust that person to do their due diligence. But with this kind of story, what kind of issues, how did this even hit you when you see this kind of story? Because you, in that sector, you will be part of those who will be guaranteeing, assuring people that certain things will be secure for them to go into.
So first, we need to differentiate between blockchain and crypto, which I think is the issue here. So there seemed to be, they were trying to describe what happened in a cheeky way by saying blockchain. I mean, it's like when you say somebody logged into my Windows and stole my money, my Windows operating system. The blockchain is like that operating system with several components. Now, crypto is just a part of the blockchain. The blockchain itself, it's an inevitable technology that, whether we like it or not, it's coming on us, it's upon us already, and there's nothing we can do about that, all right? It's like when the internet came, certain individuals were saying, oh, we can't work with these, oh, there's security issues, but today, I mean, it's almost impossible to run the world without the internet, and that's how blockchain is gonna come along as well. It's the next phase of the internet, if you wish. Now, the issue here is about crypto, not the blockchain. Now, within that crypto space, there's a whole lot of fraud going on there because...
Do you have to breach the blockchain to access the crypto?
No, you run your crypto on a blockchain. Yeah. So you really cannot technically breach the blockchain.
Because it's just...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to say you're going to hack the blockchain, for instance, all right? But you can get into people's crypto wallets and all of that if they do not consider certain security measures, you know, within that platform. And I think that's exactly what happened in this case. So it's not a case of a blockchain. I think it's a case of a crypto platform gone wrong.
So just tell us then, what could have gone wrong in this case?
I read the story, and I think both the guy that is making this accusation and the guy that is being accused, I think they both have some explanation to do. There seem to be a lot of issues between the two that are not yet in the public glare, and I'm sure the Interpol will get into the details of that. According to the story, the CEO gave access to the Abayomi guy to be able to run the platform, and I don't know how you do that. If you know you have a platform with billions of naira, hundreds of millions of dollars, why will you hand over the information, the access to an individual? I mean, who does that? Within any financial transaction online, if you are a platform that administers people's funds, at least there must be two people who initiate and maybe one or two other people who approve. So how do you then hand over control to just an individual and then you turn around to accuse the individual? What do you expect? It's like opening your vault to a thief and hope that they won't steal anything from it.
Okay. Now talk us through this, which you call the components of blockchain architecture. So we can just have this graphic representation. Probably it might stick with us. So you talk about the node being the system or user within a blockchain. So just go ahead and speak to this for us, if you will.
So if you look at the blockchain, there are so many components. I mean, crypto is just one of them. You know, identity, security, and so many other components are available, and even more are evolving based on the opportunities of what blockchain offers. And in Nigeria, I mean, there seems to be a confusion. Every time you say blockchain, people think of crypto. but it's not the same. It's not exactly the same.
Well, people will immediately relate it to what they know runs on blockchain. I mean, and one of the things we have heard that, you know, crypto does is that it runs on blockchain technology.
It does.
So, I mean, when you hear blockchain, automatically, you know, your mind goes to crypto. Can you tell us of any other thing, apart from crypto, which runs on the blockchain technology which you currently use?
So you can put your document on a blockchain and secure it, for instance, your certificates. If schools decide to, you know, this transcript thing, they want to be able to share transcript in such a way that it is not editable, it is not, it can be tampered with. You can actually put all of that on the blockchain and give a key or something to whoever wants to access it that you want to give access to. So the person will be able to read only that document. That's one very good use case of a blockchain as well, apart from crypto. And there are so many others that people can actually delve into.
No, that's not everyday use. Only for people who are leaving school find that useful, perhaps. But then, you know, crypto, it was same. It's the biggest, well, I say the biggest use, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest user of blockchain technology that many Nigerians know. When it first of all came, it raised a lot of controversy. We saw how the CBN was against it and how, you know, there was fear of, you know, the fact that the markets wasn't regulated and it was seen that they couldn't regulate it. But now it was seen that they are beginning to encourage it somewhat. The Nigerian government also launched its own e-Naira to also run on that particular technology. It hasn't particularly caught on. So can you tell us precisely what the attraction will be or what the attraction is for those who want to use blockchain technology?
So when you say it hasn't particularly caught on, it therefore means that you're not within that sphere. I mean, you're not playing within that field because it's probably one of the ways that the younger Nigerians have been able to make money beyond what we know as the regular means of generating income.
So if you talk about crypto, sorry to interrupt you, of course, I mean, I understand lots of people have made money off crypto. But I was talking about when the government got in, it doesn't seem that they have been able to convince, I don't know about you, if you have e-Naira in your wallet, I don't know.
Of course.
But there are many people, we've seen the drive by the CBN to try and convince everyday Nigerians to subscribe to the e-Naira. For me, I don't quite understand it. I've been asking what would be the difference between the e-Naira and the regular Naira I have on my e-platform, you know. So these are questions that, you know, average Nigerians are asking. So I'm saying that it hasn't quite caught on that's the e-Naira part of it. But crypto, of course, I know crypto. A lot of people have made money. Bitcoin is something else these days.
So I think the CBN is going to do a lot of work around, you know, educating people on the benefits of e-Naira. In my own opinion, it's a very great innovation. E-Naira is just electronic version of your regular Naira. Why is it not catching up with the youth is because they cannot make the kind of money that they make from crypto, you know, because the same value you get with your e-Naira, it doesn't appreciate because you have kept it in your wallet and so on and so forth. Unlike when you buy a Bitcoin and you leave it there for 30 days, you could become a millionaire if the thing just spikes, you know, by just leaving it there for 30 days. But that cannot happen with e-Naira. It's just an electronic version of your Naira, and you can use it, you know, to do businesses easily, and it's cheaper to use than even your paper. You know, if it catches on, it's a lot cheaper to use than even carrying paper around or using your regular Naira. But for some reason, people are just staying away from it and they're not, you know, really working with it.
Isn't it because of stories like this? I mean, the fact that somebody can just hack a system and, hey, voila, $73 million, $83 million is gone overnight. You know, now I'm wondering what's going to happen to investors who have put their money in that particular crypto. I don't know. We're not told what, we're not told what wallet it was or what, you know, let's say denomination. I don't know that's the word they use in crypto language. But we're not told what platform it's affected. But isn't it because people still have certain doubts as to, I'd rather hold my Naira and be seeing it in my hand?
Let me say this emphatically. It's actually a lot more secure to have your e-Naira than your physical Naira. And nobody can just get into your wallet on any platform, on any electronic platform, without your consent, whether knowingly or unknowingly. It's not possible. All right? So it's actually a lot safer to have your money on those electronic platforms.
So how did this happen?
I just told you at the beginning, this guy literally gave access to the man that stole the money. He gave him the login code. I mean, what else do you expect? All right? So it's a lot more secure than carrying money in your wallet. But the challenge here is that people do not recognize just yet that giving out information, talking to people about your birthday, for instance, talking to people about your username, your email. So you go online, someone say, I'm doing giveaway, drop your account number, and people foolishly drop their account number on the platform. That is like opening the door to your bank account because your email is already on that platform. In all probability, your phone number is also there. A combination of this information can give me access with the right tools to your account, and I can take anything from it. So people are not yet aware the danger of doing things on social media, of even phone calls in public places. There are certain things you don't do. Why? Because we're now living in the electronic age, and a lot of caution needs to be put in place by those of us who are using this platform for our day-to-day transactions.
Lagos.
You can imagine what a lot of people are thinking now. They have to grapple with all of these technologies coming in. There's AI again, and they're thinking, no way. Can you just give me some time to settle in all of these technologies? But, you know, there's a blockchain, there's cryptocurrency, and then trading platforms. And I think this is particularly a case of a trading platform which went wrong, as it were, which is in this case the name of that particular platform. So help us understand. So there are trading platforms. Just recently, I mean, you heard that Binance declared the Binance Nigeria as a scam entity. We've seen a lot of other platforms also crashing. Yes, crypto goes up and down, but those platforms particularly, we've seen very major issues with them. How can you differentiate between a legitimate platform and a Ponzi scheme? Because for a lot of people, they see these platforms as Ponzi schemes. As you said, there are questions to be answered about this particular case. And how do you know which is a Ponzi scheme, which is, the right one? And particularly, how can people get their money back? Because a lot of people have invested into this one. Maybe not the ROI, but at least their capital.
Anyway, I didn't get the last part of the question.
The last part was how people can get their monies back, their capital at least, maybe not their ROI.
Okay. Now, as to how to decipher which is true or false, which is real or fake, you just have to do your due diligence, all right? You need to find out who are these guys. Now, any platform that doesn't have a face to it, you can't pinpoint, you don't know who the CEO is, you don't know who are the people behind that platform, then you really want to be wary. You can't pin them to a particular address, you don't know where they're operating from, and so on and so forth. Then if whatever they are promising you sounds too good to be true, you probably want to be wary of such a platform. You don't want to go there. I mean, if someone is telling you it will double your money in 24 hours, then you want to really watch your back. With regards to that, you don't want to put your money there. And there are so many other things you must look out for when you put it. But you see the desperation here. People really want to get rich quick. And I normally say this, your get-rich scheme is actually a get-poor-quick scheme at the end of the day. So you don't want to go there, all right? Then when your money is gone on this platform, most of the time it's very, very difficult, especially within the crypto space. Some of these things are done with a lot of anonymity. You don't know where the money is transferred to, and there's a whole lot of internetworking going on from one point to the other, so it's difficult to track some of these things. So once your money is gone on some of these platforms, it's always very difficult. Remember, some of them don't have faces attached to it. You don't even know who the CEO is, you don't know where their offices are, you don't know how to track them, and so on and so forth. So if you jump on such a platform where you don't know who is behind the platform, you're already running a risk from the beginning.
Well, Mr. Dada, a quick one. When you said that the blockchain is very secure, can be used for all kinds of things, including putting on documents and all. The natural question that came to me is in the fallout of the 2023 elections. Is it something that can, one way or the other, be used for the elections, since you say it's very secure?
There was a group, and I happened to be part of the group that actually championed, putting our election results on a blockchain, because if election results are transmitted from the polling unit, for instance, directly to a blockchain platform, it will be almost impossible for anybody to alter those results. So eventually, Nigeria may not get there, maybe not even in the next 4 or 5 election cycles, but I believe someday we're going to get there, because countries countries have started adopting this, by the way. And I foresee a future where our election results from the polling unit will be transmitted directly to the blockchain, and it will remain, immutable. It will remain very authentic, and nobody will be able to change it. So indeed, blockchain could be a very good platform where we can send our election results to going forward. But I know, considering where we are as a nation in terms of this technology, we may not get there anytime soon, but that would be a fantastic achievement.
So what is responsible for the slow... What is responsible for the low adoption? You spoke about e-Naira the other time. A good number of people, digital experts such as yourself, are saying there's a low adoption among Nigerians. One of the questions a number of people ask is, if I put my money in the e-Naira wallet, how am I going to get it out? How am I going to use it for transactions? For the other fellow also has to have an e-Naira wallet and all of that. So what is responsible, in your opinion, for the low adoption of these advanced technologies in our nation, particularly at government levels?
Ignorance. Ignorance, that's just the simple answer to it. If you look at the evolution of money, right from trade by barter to where we are right now, where we use fiat currency, the next stage, the next form of money is going to be e-money or electronic money. And that is where your e-Naira will come from. That is where your crypto will become an inevitable means of transaction, and so on and so forth. Now, the earlier we come to terms with this reality and begin to adopt this technology early on, the better for all of us.
I find that also interesting, Mr. Dada. Pardon me for butting in.
Yeah.
I found that also very interesting when you say the earlier we come to terms. 2 years ago, e-Naira, October of 2021, e-Naira was launched by the federal government, that's the Central Bank of Nigeria. I don't know for how long we've had the national broad blockchain policy, and we've had cybersecurity awareness since as far back as I can remember in our nation. So when you say ignorance, low adoption as a result of one thing or the other, how long will it take us to catch up when already we have a national blockchain policy, we have e-Naira and a number of other things? A good number of Nigerians are already adopting these things already.
A good number of Nigerians, I know supermarket, with chains of supermarket across the country, have also adopted e-Naira. But there is no enough incentives on the part of the CBN for everyday person on the street to adopt e-Naira as a means of transaction. I think that is one of the main things that CBN will need to do. Incentivize the use of e-Naira. That will make it to catch on a lot easier with a lot of people. When they see the benefits and they see the incentives attached to it, try to make people gravitate towards the use. That will improve the adoption.
I see somebody complaining about online transactions, how he did a transaction and the person he did a transaction with has disappeared. So could you just take us through what people need to do, the basics of securing online transactions?
First, where are you doing these transactions from? How do you access the internet? The first thing you need to be careful of is, look, if you're using an unsecured Wi-Fi, a lot of your transactions have been spoofed by someone else. Somebody else is watching what you're doing. So you go to the supermarket, you go to the airport, you go to public places, and you see unsecured Wi-Fis and all of that, and you decide to log in. The moment you log on to that, I could set up...
Free Wi-Fi is dangerous.
Free Wi-Fi, very, very dangerous. I could set up, what we call the evil twin network right here and make it free. Of course, you're going to get access to the internet, but you're giving up something in exchange which you don't know. There's no free lunch in Freetown. So when you see free Wi-Fi, you're actually paying for it in a way, and the system is set up that the cost benefit is obviously not fair. So I give you free internet, but I'm going to take your information. I'm going to get your password. I'm going to get your username. I'm going to get your token, and I'll store it somewhere. You get off my network. I go somewhere and pick all the things in your bank account. and I go home. So you can't trace me to anywhere.
So beware of free Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
So
very dangerous.
Don't just use free Wi-Fi, basically.
It's safer to stay away from it.
Wait, does it mean that no matter the kind of security platform or you have on your phone, if you use free Wi-Fi, you leave your digital footprints there?
The moment you get onto that free Wi-Fi, you've excluded all those security stuff that you put on your phone.
Oh, dear. So I'm not the only one who's guilty. I've been using free Wi-Fi in some areas.
Yeah, so you need to be very careful. You need to be very, very careful. The next thing that people should be careful of is giving out their information. And I just...
What kind of information? Okay, the account numbers.
They're a combination of what we call phishing and social engineering. Those two things put together form about 90% of the vulnerability spot for people. There is what we call phishing. So you get a message. It could be a text message. It could be a WhatsApp message. It could be an email, telling you, you've been enrolled for this one popular one right now, remote jobs. Click here to register. The moment you click that link, you've opened up that device to someone else to have access.
Wow.
All right? So you log on to your mail, you see this email, very attractive content, very, appealing content. The moment something is pushing you to click, maybe you want to check first. Don't go ahead and just click. Whether it's a text message, it could be a picture. Don't just click.
Number two, how do I know if my phone is hacked?
Quite a number of ways to know. The first thing you see your phone, one of the telltale signs is the fact that your phone will begin to be very hot because there will be a lot of activities on it. So you see your phone is so hot.
That's just sure.
And then you'll be wondering...
Whether I use it or not.
Yeah, you're not using it, but sometimes it will come up and say you're using so gig of data, and you look at it, I'm not really doing anything.
Oh.
It's very likely someone else is using your phone without you knowing. And the dangerous part about this is they send a spyware to your phone. Now, this spyware may come in form of some very useful software or app on your phone, and you, because you really want to see what that app can deliver, you go ahead and click. Now, what you don't know is that is actually a spyware. And the nature of a spyware is that it's installed, and then it goes into the stealth mode. When it gets into the stealth mode, now this is the dangerous part. The moment the spyware is activated, I can listen into your conversation, I can put on your camera and look at the places that you are. I can take a picture of you without you even knowing.
Wow.
I can see everything in your text message, in your WhatsApp, in your email, just because you install an app that you do not know the source.
How susceptible are we to this sort of attacks?
Now, when you're installing any app, please, when they tell you we're going to access your camera, we're going to access your phone book, we're going to access your Wi-Fi, we're going to access this. Always ask, why do you need this for me to get that done? All right? But because the moment you say yes to all of that, they actually have access to all those things.
Wow. Okay.
And they can do anything with that.
Well, at the time, but if people already said yes.
Yes.
How do they then go back and say...
Reset your phone to factory setting.
Factory setting?
Yes.
So even if it's been hacked...
Yeah.
Wait, if you reset, will you lose all those apps?
That's the worst case scenario. Now, I'm just giving you the... if all else fails, just reset to factory.
What happens to all those apps?
They will be wiped off.
Wow.
All right? Just do total reset. However, there are anti-spywares that you can install that will pinpoint these things and remove them. But again, some anti-spywares are actually spywares.
Spyware themselves.
Oh, my goodness. So from hand to fire. Well, there are several other cases. For instance, people who use, home personalized Wi-Fi in their homes. Yeah. And then the service provider is the one who has all those key details. You can't access and see what happens. Is it a good thing to do?
Well, for that, that's a breach of trust from the service provider. If anything like that happens, then you can take that up with the service provider. Ideally, that shouldn't happen. All
right, Mr. David Dada is the president. DT Coop. DTCoop.ng.
Digital Tribes, yes.
ICT consultant and a smart contract developer and information security expert. Let's see, I think we'll have some messages that came through now. So
we do, but we're almost out of time, Chamberlain.
Okay, all right. So there you go. Unfortunately, we can't take them, but we will tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Usof. Goodbye.
Well, that's a promise I'm going to hold him to. Thank you so much for watching. And be careful. Awoof de rombele. Thank you. Well, it
was for a good cause. I mean, keep uninstalling those needless apps. I've been uninstalled like 4 now. And more to go. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Wait, did you say Awoof de rombele is for good cause? Anyway, I'm Ayo Makini. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
The time we spend not taking cure. Goodbye.